Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here from NFL Red Zone. I hope you're checking out 1 hour of 5 Yard Rush, one of the best podcasts on NFL football in the UK.
Yo, what's happening, Rush Nation? Happy New Year to all. Sorry, it is the 15th of January. Stuff's got in the way, as you can probably tell from the video. I look terrible anyway this week, so it's almost as if I'm recording on a Nokia 8210. Throwback for those of you that are over 30, maybe. And then, yeah, just some other stuff happened, but Murf and I have been pretty sick, but we're back. We're here. It's Victory Parade week. The season's pretty much finished for us now because our team's got dumped out of the playoffs. So, all in all, it's rest time, my man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Obviously last week was not ideal for both our teams. Obviously obviously Bo Nix had a great opening drive and it caused some excitement, and then that was kind of it. One-way traffic in the second half, and then the Bucks beat themselves really in that one. Coach Bowles was too conservative. If you ever want a lesson on why analytics and why a little bit of courage, it's the way to go in the NFL in today's day and age, just watch that Bucks versus Washington game. The real difference is that the Buccaneers were really aggressive. The Commanders were really aggressive. They had 4 opportunities where they were in the in field goal range and on fourth down, and they went for it on fourth down 4 times. 2 of those they converted into touchdowns. 2 of them they fell short, but that's still net 2 points. But also on top of that, it just gave them confidence. It allowed them to progress and move forward. Buccaneers played too safe, and it bit them, and that is ultimately the difference in that game. And I think for teams that have got older coaches, right? I think it's a really good lesson of experience is great, but the game is evolving ever so much and it's changing. So like if someone makes the glorious mistake of hiring Pete Carroll this coaching cycle because he's getting a lot of interviews, your team is not going to progress to a championship team. You could look at it on paper and go, he's the most experienced. And same Ron Rivera, right? They're experienced coaches. They have a lot of experience. They'll bring a lot of culture and experience and playbooks and knowledge to an organization. And there's absolutely no doubt there's a place for that. The problem is the game has evolved. It evolves every sort of 5 years or so, and it evolves through college and it evolves through the league. This is a heavy passing league now, and you have to take risks. And if you look at those teams that are at the top of the upper echelon, the top tier, the top table of the NFL, these are all teams that are very aggressive on fourth down. They're very aggressive in going for those 4th and short situations wherever they are on the field, and they're very good at converting at a very high rate. We've got very smart people that do great analytics, and this coaching hire is really interesting because it's the same knock that I have on talent evaluators in the NFL. This is me starting on a rant nice and early in 2025. That people want to do things the same way they've always been done. The problem with doing things the same way they've always been done is if they don't work or haven't worked for a long time, why would you do that? And I think that's where we look at these coaches now. And Dan Campbell's the perfect example. He's someone who came in and he just ripped up everything and he just built something from scratch. Sean McVay did that with the Rams. You're looking at these coaches. You don't need to be an experienced head coach. You just need to be really innovative and do something different, because actually doing something different and executing on that is going to be more beneficial than doing the same and hope it works, because people have seen the same. People know how to defend the same. People know how to coach against the same. Doing something different is the way forward.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to the old adage of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome.
But you'll get a different outcome, though, won't you? Because if you did something that was successful 20 years ago, the reason it was successful 20 years ago is people didn't know how to deal with it. Do you know what you have 20 years onwards? You have tape, you have experience, you have situational awareness on how to deal with those things. Because
so it is still
not
madness. It is still madness because now people know how to deal with it, and you're doing the same thing. So
the key is you always have to innovate. You always have to do something different. You can't do the same thing all the time. And this is my knock on Todd Bowles. I'm not saying Todd Bowles should get fired. Ultimately, the guy's won 4 division titles in a row. So there's an argument that he is successful in the fact that no Buccaneers coach has won the division 4 times in a row. He has brought a level of continuity, and he's done it in a difficult salary cap period. So you have to give him some credit, but he's never going to win the Super Bowl because he is too stuck in his ways. He's too conservative. He's just too very much a steady Eddie. I'm going to do the same things I've always done, and it will work some of the time, but in the big moments, people know how to coach away from that. So there are Buccaneers fans who want Todd Bowles gone, and I understand that. It's never going to happen because underneath the margins of success, he is in the margins of success. He's done things that no other Buccaneers coach has done. He is bringing a level of success along with building great foundations moving forward. This isn't a team that is a championship roster that he's not winning with. It's a roster that's probably at best divisional round. It's kind of, I think to say that the Buccaneers are maybe a top 8 team in the NFL is about their ceiling. So is he grossly underachieving? No. So he is performing to expectation. So that's why he's not going to get fired. But he's going to be the biggest barrier to that team winning a Super Bowl. I almost think it's a similar thing with Sean Payton. I think Sean Payton has done an incredible job with Denver, especially this year. He's taken a rookie quarterback and has taken it was in disarray 12 months ago to the playoffs. And I think that has to be immensely commended. And it has to look good. And it does feel good. And I think he is a great coach for Bo Nix. Do I think Sean Payton has a Super Bowl winning run in him? I don't think so. But the AFC is harder to win than the NFC. And I think Denver fans would be probably just happy to have been in contention and been in the playoffs this year because it was unexpected.
Yeah. Well, I said that to you, didn't I? I said we weren't supposed to get there this year. And the fact that 3 teams from the AFC West did shows just how competitive that division, let alone half of the league, is. Yeah. And for Bo Nix to play as well as he did, surprised the bejesus out of me. Excuse my French. So it was a big surprise.
Bo Nix right now is a better quarterback than Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anyone is going to sit here and say that that's an incorrect statement. So I think part of that is credit to coaching, to the systems that they've put in to allow Bo Nix to develop. And I do think Bo Nix has developed. But the one thing I will say is Bo Nix was grossly underrated.
Yes.
You don't play 60-odd games in college. We talked about this earlier in the season. You don't play that many games in college and you're not good. You know, ultimately, he came in with a lot of experience, so he wasn't fazed by pass rush. He wasn't fazed by pressure. He knew how to progress his reads. He knew how to play in different systems. He had a lot of things about him that he knew. Is there a ceiling on Bo Nix? Absolutely. But I think he is a starter level quarterback in the NFL, and he has proven that this season. I don't think he wins offensive MVP or offensive player of the year or rookie offensive player of the year. But I think he's in the conversation. And I think that's a good testament to how good his season has been.
Agreed. Talking of good seasons, yes, lots of comments on the hat. It's a good one. What can I say? I don't know. It's weird. My sister goes to America a lot, right? And she comes back with merch for me, which I am eternally grateful for. And a lot of it is Niners stuff. I'm not entirely sure why. She doesn't go to San Fran, and she knows I'm a Broncos fan, but she just keeps bringing me Niners stuff. So maybe there's some sort of joke in there that she's playing on me, but it's fire. So I do not mind. We've talked some winners, Murf, and some surprises of the season. Why don't we do some housekeeping? Let's go through the list of 5-yard winners for this year.
Yeah, so it's been obviously a really good year. We ran a good level of leagues, which is phenomenal. And I think first of all, before we do that, I'll probably start with the amount of money that we raised this year. So we, as Rush Nation, through the tournaments and leagues and everything that we put together, raised £8,805 for Crohn's and Colitis UK, which is an extraordinary amount of money.
Yep, massive.
Extraordinary amount of money. I mean, that does include gift aid. So I guess, first of all, thank you very much to everybody who donated and was part of that. I'm personally greatly touched. It's a charity and organisation who I and my family have benefited from, and it's definitely. I got a really lovely email from the team and a letter from the team, basically thanking us for what we've done, and they're blown away by the support, and they didn't believe that something like fantasy football could raise this kind of money. So they're really blown away and blessed. So first of all, thank you to everybody for that. We did some pre-FFCC 2025 signups. We're going to stop for a bit now. We're going to have a think about what we want to do for 2025. Yes, there'll be an FFCC 25. We already have a good number of people already signed up and donated, but we're going to probably just take some time here over the next couple of months and just pause from fundraising, because it's been a long 12 months of fundraising, and I've asked people for a lot of money. So appreciate each and every person of that. And if you're listening for the first time, thank you very much. Welcome. If you don't know what we're talking about, we run a number of, first of all, we ran a huge charity league called the FFCC, which is the Fantasy Football Challenge Cup. It's going into its 7th year. So we've crowned 6 world champions now, who we're about to tell who our 6th world champion is in a second. And we have gone through this evolution. It's basically a large knockout tournament, so it's playoffs effectively from week 1. It's best ball, so you don't have to set a lineup. We get some of our mates across the industry to join in and play, and it's a lot of fun. It's a crazy format. It's probably one of the hardest tournaments you can win, but we notoriously, well, you've had a good run on it, not this year, last year. I notoriously do pretty badly in it.
Well, no, I crash out round 1 every year. This I just did all right this year. I didn't do too bad this year. Better, I think.
But I think it's a great competition. So look out. Thank you for joining us. Do look out for our X and socials and YouTube channel, and we can keep you updated on that. Reach out to us, and we can 100% keep you updated on that. But yeah, so then we raise money through that, through our listener leagues, through our mid-season elimination league, and other bits and pieces, raffles, I don't know, all sorts of stuff. Gave away a lot of stuff this year. Waffling a bit, but let's crown some winners, right? Because we have a number of leagues that we ran, so we're going to crown some winners and congratulate all these people, because they deserve it. I think our leagues are very competitive. They're very tough. They attract people from all over the world, and they I think for me, there's a lot of unique formats that people have never played, and it's engaging, and I think the best play in them. So we'll start with our 5-yard rush FFCC champion for year 6. So our 6th ever world champion, our 2nd from England. His name is Patrick Woodward. He runs an account on X called Mugs NFL. He does a lot of custom merch. So he does custom t-shirts, custom jerseys, custom jackets, varsity jackets. Phenomenal bloke. Patrick was our winner. He's received his trophy. So yeah, congratulations to him. He beat the largest ever field to be crowned world champion. So he is our world champion. Our Intercontinental Plate, now for those, the FFCC now has 3 competitions. So the world champion is the only unbeaten person in the entire landscape. So they've beaten all, they are top of the tree. our Intercontinental Plate was introduced last year. This is the second year that we've done it. And effectively was those that bowed out very early in the competition in the first head-to-head. So it was round 1 last year. It was round 2 this year. Bowed out in the first head-to-head round. We would put them in almost like a rugby sevens. You'd have the cup and then the plate. So we call it the Intercontinental Plate, almost like the Intercontinental Championship from the WWE, WWF era, as a nod to that. Plus, also we're global, so that helps. So Zach Rigo from the United States won that. So he lost in round 2 and then ran the table to win a 128-person bracket, which is no mean feat. So many congratulations to him. And then our Squid Game, which was new this year. So in the past, we were precluded from adding people unless it was by divisibles of an extra round. So we could fill 256 people, but if number 257 turned up, I'd have to say, I need to recruit another 255 people before I can accept you.
Yep.
It's fine, but at the same token, it does mean that every year I've had to say no to people because we haven't quite got to that 512 number.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't really want to say no to people every year. It's kind of crap. I don't enjoy it. So we did the Squid Game, and the Squid Game basically meant that we could do a round 1 cutoff to 256. So if you finish in the top 56, you made it through to round 2. And if you finished below that line, you were eliminated from the FFCC tournaments, but we put you in a separate tournament, which was the Squid Game. So that left about 60, 70 people that played in that. Now, the Squid Game was effectively me coming up with a random prompt every week, which I would spin on a wheel and share with whoever was left. And they had to hit that. So it would be a wide receiver had to score 20 plus points, or quarterback would have to score 24 points or whatever it was. And you had to hit those prompts. And if you didn't, you were eliminated. So kind of like Squid Game. Right? You get only less murder in this one.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Squid Game.
If you haven't seen Squid Game, I don't worry about spoilers. It's been out a while. So yes, that's how Squid Game worked. And so we got down to 2. We got down to Owen from Ireland, and then Peter from England. And we got down there quite early. I think it was like week 10, week 11. We're down to 2. So I was like, well, it's a bit weird crowning a champion in week 11. So I made it a 5-week penalty shootout,
Nice.
which Peter won. So Peter is our inaugural Squid Game champion. He has received his prize. So Zach's prize is on the way to him. Patrick and Peter have had theirs. So that's our FFCC champions for 2024. Now we should crown our champion of champions. Champion. Take it over for me. I'm wearing my champion of champions. This is from last year, 2023. I had a good run, made the playoffs, but I didn't quite have enough. Our winner this year is none other than Robbie Smith. Robbie is a long-time listener. He is from Ireland. He did a great job too. He was pretty much top 2, top 3 in the rankings. The format's insane. I'm not going to talk about it because I could be here all night, but effectively, the one quirk to it was there was no waivers. It was an expansion draft every 2 weeks. So you had to drop a starter every week, and then you would do a draft every 2 weeks in reverse order of the standings. So, or supplemental draft, whatever you want to call it. So it meant there was more control to the waivers. And it also meant that there was strategy on who you keep, how you keep them. And there was a few things you could do to save your best players and things like that. So it was a long-term management thing, but it was good. So Robbie won that. And then we had our listener leagues. So I took home 3 of them, which was a nice return. The half-point PPR, the Dynasty League from way back when, which I've never won. So that was nice to bring that one in. I feel a little dirty. I did a big trade before before the final, and cashed in all my future options for players to get me over the line. So yeah, that was a good one to win. And then the standard. So I'd won the standard 3 years on the bounce, lost it last year to Stacey, won it back this year. So won the standard for the last 5 years. So that was a nice return. We had Casey won the auction. I was sure I was going to win the auction. I had the best team with the best record, had one bad week and was eliminated. That's is the story. The Superflex PPR, I was in the final of that, and I lost that to a great bloke called Alan Gossage. He narrowly beat me in the final. I felt pretty confident until Sunday night football, last game, and he got over the line. So he squeaked it in the second half of that game. I think the difference is about 4 points. It was very, very close. The Guillotine League, James Collier won that for the second year in a row. So he defended his Guillotine title. That's quite impressive. To defend any league is impressive. To defend a Guillotine title, mad respect. That's not easy.
No.
That's not easy. That is nuts. So fair play to James. Our Rules Mania winner came from New Zealand by a good friend of mine called Mark Wilson. The Rules Mania this league year was nuts. It was silly. It was beyond silly. It was good. You'll like this one. Tiered PPR winner was former 5 Yard College host Ash Goddard.
Well, didn't he join that super late as well?
Last person to join any of the leagues. He joined that super late. Ash took the last spot in the last available list of the league and took the dub.
Excellent news. I'm going to message him presently and give him big congratulations. Well done, Ash.
So he did a great job. Superflex tight end premium winner was Stillers. IDP Plus was one of our Patreons, Stevie from Scotland. Got a lot of love for Stevie. So congrats to him. Franchise Flex, another one I thought I was winning. I had a great team in that, and then came a cropper in the semis. Went to Ian Harrison, good friend of mine, does the Jefferson My Drinks podcast. He was our winner there. He also took home, I play a not in the 5 Yard universe, a jersey league where we all chip in a couple of pounds and the winner gets a jersey. He took that title this year, so he got himself a nice Trey Hendrickson Bengals jersey, which he just got.
Nice.
And then our PPR winner was Mikey Sadowski, who took home that title. So all of those folks, plus our elimination mid-season elimination league. So that was a league that we started in like week 8, and it was a bit like a guillotine, but it was basically down to points being eliminated. So yeah, you had a good team in that, and you came a cropper. I can't remember where I went out. I won that last year, but went out quite early this year. Anyway, our winner this year was Paul Lancaster. So he won that this year. So he's going to get an invitation to the Champion of Champions. It's quite handy for him that I won 3. So it did free up some space. So yes. So all the people I mentioned are going to win a spot into our Champion of Champions for 2025, which I'll come up with a new format. So yes, that's all of our winners. Lots of winners, lots of fun leagues and formats. And if you like the sound of some of those formats, come find me in like June. All those people donated to charity to be part of that. So yeah, great respect, massive congratulations to all of our winners. Yeah, amazing achievements. To win a league is impressive. To win a 5 Yard league is ultra impressive. Yeah,
I mean, these leagues aren't inclusive for the people that are in them, right, Murf? If the spaces are available every year. And
yeah, so the only people that get to play in them every year are the champion of from the previous year. So that's the only. So for me, I always think you should be allowed to defend the title.
Yep.
So for me, if you win it, and I don't even ask for a donation. Like you win it, it's like winner stays on, right? Back to old school playground stuff, right? So for me, if you win your league, you get to stay in it. The only one that stays the same is the Dynasty League. That does stay unless people do leave, in which I fill it with other people. But I'm quite exclusive about who we pick in that. But everybody else, all those other leagues, I do a sign-up form. The Patreons kind of get first dibs, as it's only fair. They fund the podcast and fund all the activities that we do. So, you know, they kind of get the first dibs on where they want to go, but they don't fill up a league. So there is no equal opportunity for anybody. It is kind of a first come, first serve basis, but I ask for your 3 priorities. And then when they fill up, I keep that sheet updated like every half a day. So it's pretty well known what you're going to get and how you fill it. So it works out to be about 150-ish spots.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're looking for an engaging league, we have them. We do ask for a donation to charity because it is worth putting them on. And we do give out T-shirts to our winners every year.
We do. And I am on top of the ball. Well, that sounds balancing. I'm ahead of the game this year, and the designs have been ordered. The T-shirts haven't been ordered, obviously, but
Well, no,
the designs.
I'm still collating the information, which I'm nearly there. I'm still waiting on 2 people to get back to me about where they're sending, where they need sending to.
Nice.
And the one in New Zealand, we're not shipping to New Zealand. We're working out how we're going to get that one done.
We'll figure out when the Gulf Stream's going the right way. I'll throw it in at Plymouth or something, and we can get it sent that way. But no, Murf, shout out to you for organising everything, because it is a huge undertaking, and it is ridiculous, quite frankly. So well done, and I know we all appreciate you massively.
Well, we talked about. Do you remember when we first started this back in, I don't know when, back in pre-COVID? So I guess it's almost like before the war.
Yeah,
you know, when I was your age, we talked about having a world where people didn't have to rely on random NFL.com leagues to play fantasy football. And I feel like with this community has taken off so much in the last 4 or 5 years that we're almost at that stage where that is nearly done. We haven't reached everybody. There's probably still people playing on random NFL.com, random Yahoo leagues, but I do feel that number's getting progressively less every year. And actually, while I'm here, I do want to give some shout outs. So for those that don't know, I also run a rookie league every year. Now, I've done this for the last 5 years. So I go on the NFL UK Facebook group and I sort of say, right, who's never played fantasy football before? I will be an independent person who will just give you tips and tricks and basically put everyone together, and I'll run the league for you. And all you have to do is just kind of show up and you get what you put into it, kind of thing. But if you ever wanted to learn, it's a safe space to learn. If you don't have enough friends to play NFL, that's fine. We will put a league together for you. And I've done this for 4 or 5 years. So I've met some amazing people through these leagues. Hannah Rowland, who most people might know in the fantasy industry, came through one of those leagues. So I'm not taking credit for being for turning her into a fantasy degenerate, but she will tell you herself that she came through that league, had never played fantasy football before, and she embraced it, and she did a lot of additional learning, development, all that sort of stuff, right? So I take no credit for the path and the journey she has gone on, other than basically pointed her into where fantasy football exists and created a league which she could play in. Danny Laurentiis is another one. He came through there. There's quite a few. Martin Owens, another one who you might see in the Eagle Streets, you Eagle fans, who have gone through. But this year's group, I have to say, and this is no disrespect to any of the previous groups, were absolutely fantastic. So much so that 2 people dropped out, right? But there were 10 that were hardcore, like just gobbled it up and they really took the spirit of fantasy football to a whole, like, it was the best encompassing, if I could ever describe to anybody what a great league should be like for strangers, this was it. And I had no handling in any of it other than just randomly pulling people from the Facebook account and putting them in this league. They were like, can we start a WhatsApp group? Yeah, crack on. Like, invite me. I'm fine with that. I ended up playing in it because we didn't have and then I invited Stevie to come and play it. And me and him squared off in the final. He beat me. So probably not a great advert that the two most experienced fantasy players did square off in the final. He absolutely whooped me in the final. It was a bit embarrassing. I got my revenge in a different league. So I feel pretty, I think it was a dynasty league. But the people in there, so lots of people, Richard, Renee, John, Mitch, Stevie, obviously, a lot of people in there. The chat on the WhatsApp group is incredible, and they've really just all become quite good friends. And I think that's the beauty of fantasy football. So they just had a lot of fun playing. Like it wasn't the fact that they didn't win and there were these two guys who just came in and basically fleeced them. It wasn't. There was no bitterness about that. It was just like we're just having a laugh, and it feels like they know one or two people that talk NFL, but they didn't have a lot, and so now they can share stuff in a group, and they're excited, and that chat's still going, it's still active, and it's why I do it, right? And I've never seen a group come together and it just clicks, and it's just a solid reminder of anything that you do in life, but especially fantasy football, you get what you put into it. So if the league's not engaging, try and be the one to be engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Try and like lift it up and get people, and you can't control other people's reactions, but you can control what you do. That league is, so we've rolled the league over. Me and Stevie aren't leaving. We're playing in it next year, and I couldn't imagine not playing with them next year. Like that's how tight that league has got. And I think it's just a great reminder of how great it is just to meet random people with the same interests and just bond over it. But also just what a good fantasy football league looks like. And I'm not sort of singing the praises because I'm the commissioner of that league. I do nothing for that league. I literally run it on Sleeper, and all I did was just pluck random people together and put them in an ecosystem where they organize the WhatsApp. They had a spreadsheet where they were tracking people's teams and what they supported. And it's honestly, like, if I had to give my fantasy highlight for 2024, that was it. Over everything, over all the leagues I won, over all the people I met, over all the experiences. That was my favorite experience because I love fantasy football so much. It's given me so much in terms of friendships, our friendship because of it, and so much more, family and everything. To be able to do that for other people, I think is really special. And it's a constant reminder to me that it's a silly game, but we love it. We're nerdy about it, but it's that ability to connect people together and to just foster relationships and friendships so that people can build a community.
Mm-hmm.
I love that over anything else. So my favorite fantasy moment, bar none, 2024 was that league. And I'm blessed to have met all those people online. I hope to meet them all in person at some point. And I just want to say thank you to them because they could have said, no, we don't want you to play. And, they could have been funny about it, but they're honestly fantastic and a great bunch of people and some of the nicest people I've ever bonded with in this space. So what about you? What about some of your highlights and successes?
I won one league. That was it. That was my entire haul this year.
But you've cut a lot of leagues down, haven't you?
I have. And then I knew this would happen. I came on the show, I don't know, semi-finals week, and I said, or quarter-finals week, and I said I'm quietly confident. And then, stuff went south. But the one league I did win was my other home league, which is a money league. I've been in it for 5 years now, and I finally cashed. So I am back to level. So I could now play for the next 5 years. But I took over the team 1 year in. It came second. It was pretty strong, and I stripped it right back. And it's taken me 3 years to build it, and I won it this year. I don't want to say convincingly, but my average was a lot higher than everybody else. And not only that, I own the 101 and the 105 next year. and I also have a powerhouse of a young team. So I've set myself up, and it is fantasy vindication for me because I thought I could do the rebuild, and I was starting to think that actually I'd made a terrible mistake, but I've pulled it out the bag, so I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with that. And again, that league there's a WhatsApp which is just message every day. It's crazy, and I think it really does make the league fantastic if there is an active chat with it. It's just, I love it. I love it so much. So yeah, that's it really. Just the one, but just, I think the overall highlight for the fantasy is just doing this really. How many people sit down and chat with somebody they met doing something they're talking about every week, and then weirdly enough have people listen. This is like if you'd have said 10 years ago, have an hour-long phone call with your mate, but people will listen to it about a hobby. I've just didn't. Absolutely no chance. The only thing on YouTube is DIY videos, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my fantasy highlight is just doing this really.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things, isn't it? Just to sit here and talk to people, and I had looked at the numbers to see how many people have listened over the season, and I try not to track it too much. It's just about putting out their thoughts, feelings, advice, and if we've helped in some small way to help you win a title, then that makes me feel good, and that's kind of why we do this. And I think it's a really bizarre year. I've been going through and doing a lot of retro 2024 stuff already, so I've been diving into a lot of stuff already around what happened and the story of 2024, and I break it down to two things, and the pivot point is week 13. I would say week 1 to week 13 was largely kind of what we expected it to be. If you did your projections and your analysis, yes, there's always injuries. We lost players to injury through the season, but I think it was less than the last 3 or 4 years, especially at the quarterback position. And the running back position, I would say, yes, okay, we lost CMC. That's a big loss. Godwin, a few players, but I don't feel that those injuries from week 1 to 13 really differentiated away from what we kind of knew this league was going to be. There weren't too many last to first. We kind of knew who the good teams were. We knew who the bad teams were. A couple of teams were surprises: the Commanders, the Broncos, the Chargers to a small degree. I don't think anyone thought they would be bad, but maybe they slightly outperformed. But I think we kind of knew what this was going to be. And then I would say week 14, first of all, the NFL needs to sort out its bye weeks, because to have that many teams on bye in week 14 was stupid and really infuriating. Less so, I think I took a lot of week 14 buys with the plan of get into the playoffs by week 14 and don't rely on week 14. So that was kind of my strategy to it, was to try and win 10 of the first 13 games or more in a lot of leagues. So it was to try and play for a bye, or to have a bye locked, or if I'm not going to get a bye but I'm in the playoffs, and not have a lot to play for in week 14. So it didn't become a big thing. I think the bye played a big part this year. Week 15 was carnage, but week 16 was even worse. And then week 17 with all those injuries and pullouts because there wasn't much to play for in the NFL slate, I thought the playoffs were completely chaotic.
Yep.
I had some great teams that didn't win leagues who dominated all season. I had, teams with one loss going into the playoffs lose, and they dominated all season. And then I had 500, just over 500 teams win championships. And it's just the chaos of the playoffs. I mean, I always think it's a little bit chaotic, but I feel this year it went completely bonkers. And I think it was almost unpredictable. Like, great players didn't perform. Jonathan Taylor had done absolutely nothing all season. All of a sudden was the elite Jonathan Taylor who came out of nowhere week 15 and went, right, that's it, lads. I'm the RB1. Let's have it. It was just mind-boggling. Players who had got you to the playoffs basically fell off a cliff, and players who held you back ended up having storming performances.
Yeah. Drew Lock.
Drew Lock's a league winner. Like
what is absolutely ridiculous is what that is.
I mean, I don't know many people that started Drew Lock in week 17, but if you did, then
kudos.
You want to. I think I actually had to overcome a Drew Lock to win the title this year. But yeah, like mad. Like it's just madness to see. Like I'm actually going to go through now, and I'm going to pull the week 15 to 17 rankings, right? So, and this is going to stun a few people when we do this. So, what should I do? Half or full point?
I'm going to go just full because I think that's the majority. If you're going to play one of the two, I think more people play.
So, let me tell you this just by looking at all, right? Brian Thomas Jr. was overall, all players, including quarterbacks, was the number 5.
Okay.
So, I mean, quite a lot of wide receivers made that top. So this is the top 10 overall, and then we'll do it by position, right? So Jaden Daniels was 1, Jared Goff 2, Lamar Jackson 3. They were split by about 5-6 points, so not loads. Jared Goff massively outperforming what he did all season, mainly in that week 15 performance, but fair play to him. The other two were a bit more averaged out, 3 great performances across the weeks. Baker Mayfield was 4. Again, performing kind of what he had all season. So I don't think there's any argument there. But yeah, Brian Thomas, Jameer Gibbs, T. Higgins, but that's propped up by that week 17 40-point week.
Yep.
So he just, he had good weeks, 19.8, 19.8. Like, don't get me wrong, great weeks, but it's anchored by one massive championship league winning week. Joe Burrow, obviously, that week put up 37. He was in 9th. Mike Evans is in the top 10. Jonathan Taylor, that performance I'm talking about, he put up 40 points in week 16 and 28 points in week 17. So he turned into a league winner for you and was the RB1. So when we break that down, yeah, go ahead.
That's just crazy. Like those names.
Yeah, it's so. So here we go. Top 10 quarterbacks. We've talked about the first 4. Joe Burrow was 5. Josh Allen 6. And Josh Allen's score is really only pulled down. He had a 41-point week in week 15. He had a 12-point week in week 16. So he could have cost you. This is what I mean by week 16. Josh Allen probably cost you a few leagues.
Yep.
As a starting quarterback in week 16 with that performance. You're giving up 10 to 12 points over everybody else. And that could kill you, yeah. Patrick Mahomes, who had done pretty much nothing in fantasy all year, was the QB7. Justin Herbert 8. Sam Darnold 9. Bo Nix at 10. Bryce Young was at 12. He wasn't terrible. He had a good week at 16. But Drew Lock. So Drew Lock was the quarterback 20. He didn't play in week 15. He didn't play in week 15, and he put up 8.5 in week 16.
And then
34.4 weeks, 34.4. So yeah, pretty mad. Running backs, PPR. Jonathan Taylor, Jameer Gibbs, James Cook, Bijan, Saquon was 5th, RB5 in the playoffs. Tajay Spears was the RB6 in the playoffs. Like, that's so disgusting.
Yeah.
That's so disgusting. James Conner, there's no big shock on these. Bucky Irvin was the RB9, but he'd been playing elite second half of the season, so I don't think that's a big shock. Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, they tied in 11th. Amir Abdullah was the RB13. Jerome Ford, RB 14, and he had a stinker of a championship week. If you started him championship week, he probably cost you a title with just 2 points. 2 point. Oh, that's in standard, so PPR would have been a little bit more. Maybe these ranks changed. It went back to standard. Oh yeah, so in PPR, Amir Abdullah was the RB7. He beat Saquon.
Wow,
It's so
that's disgusting.
It's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. But look, the RB position is kind of what it was. The biggest disappointments, standouts were like Joe Mixon, RB 28. He was kind of the worst one. Travis Etienne, 26. He had a terrible season, played by injury. Georgia Swift, 22. Brees Hall, 18. These massively underperformed. We look at the wide receivers, though. So it was Brian Thomas, we talked about, T. Higgins, Mike Evans, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, capped off by that league-winning performance in Championship Week 17. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Devonta Smith, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams put up 50 points in Week 16 and 17.
Yeah, that added his stats throughout the season quite significantly.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good season, and I think that he was well worth the risk of taking, as we talked about earlier on the season. But Xavier Worthy had a great end of season. He finished as the wide receiver 10. I wouldn't have expected that looking at Lad McConkey, wide receiver 12. Ja'Marr Chase was actually wide receiver 13. Jalen McMillan, out of nowhere, wide receiver 14 in the playoffs.
Really good.
Yeah. I mean, but he was terrible at the start of the year. A great example of a player who just needed a bit of confidence. I mean, he scored 7 or 8 touchdowns down the stretch. Here's one for you. Wide receiver 17. For the fantasy football playoffs, I present to you the Washington Commanders, Omalade Zaccheaus.
Could never have guessed that. I'd have guessed Jamison Crowder over him.
Omalade Zaccheaus. And 24 points in Week 16, 23.3 points in Week 7. He averaged 18 points a game in the playoffs. Closely followed behind him by Adam Thielen.
Who still got it.
Yeah, I mean, number 22, Marvin Mims.
Yeah, again, somebody who was completely irrelevant for 15 weeks.
And more than that, 16 weeks. He only turned up in championship weeks with a whopping 30 points in championship week.
Yeah, I guess that's because the Chiefs played absolutely nobody.
His total score for the season, right, was 129.5 points. He put up 30 of those in Week 17.
Fantasy football is broken. The playoffs is broken.
So bad. I mean, CD Lamb still finished as a wide receiver 2 and he didn't play in championship week. Oh, yeah, Michael Pittman too. Michael Pittman Jr., another player who absolutely killed you all season, rocked up with a 26-point championship week performance.
It's just wild. Like,
Ricky Pearsall, 28.7 points in championship week.
I suppose he was recovering from
being shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, these championship week performances are just so... Jalen Naylor, 19.1 points in championship week.
Waiver darling.
It's just, you look at these names on here, and it's just so random. Justin Watson, 14 points in championship week.
No. Stop it.
Tyrell Shavers. Do you know who Tyrell Shavers is? Yeah.
No.
Tyrell Shavers of the Buffalo Bills. 13.9 points in championship week. He beat AJ Brown.
This list is making me physically sick.
It's
like
so
ill. It's making me ill listening
so
to this.
Funny. And then we look at the tight end position because let's always have a laugh at the tight end position. Chigga was the tight end 4 in the playoffs.
Good lord.
Foster Moreau was the tight end 9.
What? No,
Oh, dear. So bad. Quite fun. Carl Pitts, by the way, was the tight end 16, and that's only because he had a good championship week with 14.4 fantasy points. He'd scored 1 point the previous week.
I can't deal.
Meanwhile, everyone's favorite tight end, Dalton Kincaid, who you drafted in the 3rd or 4th round of drafts, or 5th round of drafts this year, was the tight end 25 in the playoffs.
What about overall?
I'll tell you this. He was behind. He was behind Payne Durham of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who isn't a catching tight end. He's a pass blocking tight end.
Oh God!
It was the science. It's because Payne Durham caught a touchdown in championship week.
No.
Oh my God! That's
Stop the earth. Get me off.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. So over the season, Brock Bowers was the tight end 1, followed by Kittle, Trey McBride, Johnny Smith. They were the only 4 players to score over 200 PPR points. Then Kelsey, Andrews, Saka, Sam Laporte, who everyone was taking as the tight end 1. He finished as the tight end 8. Tucker Kraft was the tight end 9. David Njoku, who, by the way, missed 5 games. He missed 5 games, and he finished as the tight end 10.
Jeepers.
That's so disgusting. Like, the guy missed 5 games.
No, I can't do it.
I mean, to be fair, Mark Andrews finished as the tight end 6, and he, for the first 4 weeks, scored a whopping 12.5 points.
Combined. I know. I had so much Mark Andrews.
And let me congratulate Hunter Henry as finishing as a tight end 1 on the season in PPR. Finished as the tight end 12.
What a
It's mad.
Man, a man.
Such a bad position. Where did by the way, for the Carl Pitts fans, he finished tight end 14. And he played every game.
He did. He started well, and then that was it.
He managed a whopping 8 points per game. Yeah, it's so bad.
It's not the one.
No. So that was it. Other takeaways I would share, just as we're getting ready to wrap up, is I went through my streaming model and I streamed both the kicker and the DST1 this year. So if you wasted draft picks on Dallas Cowboys D, or any D for that matter, once again, just out here proving you don't need to waste significant draft capital on a kicker or a defense.
No, I think, Murf, that's a good point, actually. For those listeners and viewers, if you're watching on the YouTube, we thank you. I'm waving, just so those on the audio know what I'm doing. It would be good for the new members of Rush Nation for you to go through your I stream to stream from back in the day and your model and how that works and stuff, because obviously it was in the books that we did, but it's not something that we touched on too regularly this season. So I think it's worthwhile maybe in the off season just going through how that works and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I shared it with the Patreons because I have done it for this season. So I did go through. There's some funny stories to tell, like through the first I think it was through the first 8 weeks of the season, I was streaming the wide receiver 1 overall. But I had Juwan Jennings' 40-point week.
Yeah.
When Ayuk went down, right? And that kind of over-fluctuated the numbers. So it's funny, like the wide receiver 1 streaming position was a season of 2 halves. The first 8 weeks, phenomenal, nailed it. Second half of the season, when it all dried up, there was nothing. It was as dry as anything. So it wasn't a great, like, I think I finished as the wide receiver. I still finished as a wide receiver 1. I think I finished as the 8 or 9. But yeah, did reasonably well at running back, quarterback. But yeah, DST1, and it wasn't close. I think I cleared the DST1 by about 25-30 points.
Wow.
Now keep in mind that my model doesn't have a bye week in it.
That's true.
But I do a points per game analysis as well. But yeah, I beat the Denver Broncos by almost 30 points.
So did the Bills.
Hey, there's that one. And once again, just I have a philosophy of always taking like the Pittsburgh DST last, for no reason, that they just always seem to finish in like the top 5 or 6 DSTs. I always say that you can never really go wrong by picking up one of the Ravens, the Steelers, or I used to say the Patriots, but that has gone quite awry in recent years. Oh, it started well, but it got really bad. They had one positive game in like week 10. I think the rest of the time it was pretty tragic. But I will say that the Steelers once again finished as a top 5 DST.
It's a solid plan.
Always just, yeah. And like people always draft the DST1 from the year before. So everyone drafted like I think the ADP on the Dallas Cowboys, I want to say, was like the 11th or 12th round. They finished as the DST 15.
Wow.
Like you get the Steelers for free with the last pick. You'd have got the Broncos for free as the one overall, but like they finished one overall. But ultimately, streaming it finished miles ahead of all these teams, and same at kicker. Kicker was a pretty unpredictable year. Steelers win the special teams double because Chris Boswell was the kicker 1. But yeah, I'd say Brandon Aubrey kind of justified his selection as the kicker 2. Everyone else kind of, like Justin Tucker, kicker 10, didn't justify his selection. I don't even want to know where Harrison Butker finished 26. He was injured though, to be fair. But
yeah.
So yeah, it just we'll do this all in the retro. But again, I think it just kind of, if I had to summarize the season, first 13 weeks very predictable. The last 4 weeks was pretty hellish.
Yeah. Certainly was. But hey, the 5-Yard Marina got a little bit bigger. So
it did.
We can all be grateful for that. Murf and I were going to talk about coaching changes and vacancies, but as usual, it's the off season. We got a little bit off target, so we need to talk about that in a bit more depth. And the minute and a half we have left just isn't going to cut it, Rush Nation.
It's not, no. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, this coaching cycle. I think it's going to be really, it's going to be really interesting. So we'll see what happens. Ben Johnson is sort of the jewel in the crown here. A lot of noise he goes to the Raiders. We'll see what happens. Is Primetime going to Dallas? Maybe we'll know the answer to that one next week.
That would be some story, wouldn't it?
I don't think it should happen, but
no, me neither. But yeah, going from lowly lows in college football in a couple of years to suddenly taking his son to the NFL, if that is an orchestrated plan, then fair play.
You'd have to trade Prescott, and then you'd have to, it'd be a bit awkward.
Yeah, but hey, stranger things have happened. Week 14-17 showed us that the NFL is anything but predictable.
Absolutely.
Rush Nation, if you are a fan of any of the teams left in the playoffs, we sort of wish you well. Hope your team wins. From a screened view of hatred, because our teams are no longer in it. But hey, football's football. Murph, are you doing anything for the next coming games? Are you going anywhere special for them before the Super Bowl?
No, I have plans for the Super Bowl, which I'm not going to declare on air. But I think I'm just going to watch them at home. I'm going to keep a low key. It's January, so very much just chilling at home. I think over the next few weeks.
Fair.
And
fair.
then
Right.
Rush Nation aren't going to hear much from us. So I guess we'll announce the plan. We're going to take February off. I know we've taken half of Jan off, but we're going to take some time and just sort of collate our thoughts, get the whole retros done and everything. Unless Stocks, you fancy doing some rookie stuff, then by all means jump on and do some stuff.
Maybe I can speak to Ash and we can do some stuff. But yeah, February's going to be a quiet one nonetheless.
Yeah, and then I think from end of Feb, I'll start coming in with some bits and pieces from a perspective. There will be some stuff going on the Patreon, so you can sign up to the Patreon, or if you're interested, reach out to me. I'm happy to add you to the Patreon. I'm not charging anyone through this off season because I'm not posting regular content, and again, we'll go pretty quiet in February, but I am posting some retro stuff on there that you can get some pretty cool access to. So yeah, by all means, if you're interested in that and try it for free for the next few months, you can listen to some of the old in-season podcasts, which will have some relevance. But also you can just get a bit of a feeling for what it is, join the group there and get a bit of feeling for what those guys are like, then by all means do that.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for today, Rush Nation. We're going to wrap up. Enjoy the football this weekend. Those on the video are going to witness the Murf wave. Those on the not on the video, come over to YouTube, hit the like and subscribe. Tell your friends to come and watch because it's a funny end. But anyway, Rush Nation, that's going to do it for this week. Congratulations on the ships if you got them. If you didn't, let's get hustling in March. Let's get them ready for next year. Until next week, Rush Nation, as always, don't forget, keep rushing.